Thank you so much, Alyssa. That was absolutely beautiful. Next up, we have Sham Qarqour, class of 2027, whose speech is titled Amplifying Silence Narratives, Syria and Beyond.
My name is Sham. Sham, another word for Syria. Sham, a word for the Levantine region of Syria, Palestine, Jordan, and Lebanon. Sham, my purpose, my message, my mission in life, my constant reminder of my duty to my people, to any people who, like my people, suffer from injustice. Being born in my beautiful country, my family and I had to flee, as my father's narrative about the Assad regime's crimes committed against him and Syrians was silenced. We moved to a nearby country, Saudi Arabia. As a Syrian, I understood the value of safety, education, opportunity. I became obsessed with my education, and receiving a good education became my top priority. So, when we went to Saudi, my father, whose top priority was to ensure that I got as good of an education as possible, he started working very, very hard. As I realized the value of the education that I was getting, I fell in love with it. However, my education was never a guarantee. It was a fight that was sometimes impossible to win. In Saudi Arabia, non-citizens do not possess residency. They can't gain it, and in turn, they don't have a guaranteed education. As non-citizens, we had to renew our work authorization annually, and sometimes monthly, due to bureaucracy and restrictions. One day, for a bureaucracy process, our work authorization renewal was delayed. Due to that, my father's bank account, business license, and our work authorization was frozen. And I couldn't go to school. I tried, but I was sent back. I was told by my principal that I would be unable to attend until the renewal of my father's work authorization. In the 4th grade, I came home one day to find strange men leaving our home. I didn't know who they were or why they were there. All I knew was that my parents were scared and angry. I asked, "What happened?" My father responded, "Start getting your stuff together. We're moving." I couldn't understand, but I also couldn't ask questions. Not then, anyways. I went to my mother, who was crying, and I asked her, "What happened, Mama? Why are we moving?" Once again, no answer. I was told that I simply couldn't understand. By the end of the month, we had packed our entire lives into bags and boxes. We had to leave most of our things behind. We could only take the necessities: clothes, money, legal papers. It wasn't until years later that I finally found out why we left. My father was jailed unjustly. He was put in prison and tortured for 7 months without having committed any crime and without any trial. So he sued the government. 7 years in court ended with a win. A resolution in my dad's favor to get compensation and an apology for this mistake on behalf of the government. The government, of course, refused and denied to grant the compensation that they owed to my father. Their execution of that resolution was a deportation decision. So, they issued my father a warrant to leave the country immediately. While having to leave felt like a curse at the time, we were blessed to move here, to America. I came to America in 2015. After settling down, I started attending the 5th grade in an elementary school. On my first day, I wore the same dress I had on when I arrived, white with flowers. After walking into the classroom and introducing myself, my teacher gave me my seat and told me to talk to my classmates. My new friends surrounded me and began asking questions. Why don't you live in Syria if that's where you were born? I hesitated, but I answered, Syria's at war. There's a lot of bloodshed. If I stay there, I'll get killed. My teacher grabbed my arm aggressively and took me outside the classroom looking furious. She told me I cannot say things like that. She said, "Don't ever say anything like that again, Sham." I asked, why? She said that kids shouldn't know or speak of such scary things. She made me promise to not say anything scary. She said that it was inappropriate. Walking back into the classroom, I thought how strange it was. My Syrian friends and I had witnessed bloodshed. We had escaped it our entire lives, horrified. The kids here, they don't even know it exists. Imagine this. While my country, Syria, was getting bombed and erased, while the kids in my country were getting killed, some people think that it's not allowed for us to speak of our narrative. Like my teacher, they think that sharing this narrative is inappropriate. Are the kids getting killed? Are their childhoods, my childhood, getting stolen from us not inappropriate? As I grew up, I realized the dangers of such rhetoric and such culture. I've witnessed where the limitation of expression leads, how it starts from a so-called place of good intention, but one day leads to the killing of millions. Any potentially undesirable consequences that arise from the freedom of expression are incomparable to the unimaginably bad consequences of limiting and silencing expression. Today, at Harvard, we are seeing this suppression in front of our eyes. To people who speak up about genocide and apartheid. Injustices like the ones committed against my father and my people stems first from actions as simple as silencing these narratives that yearn to be heard. It is our role to stand up against these injustices. As a Syrian, I could have very easily been in the place of another Syrian today, in a refugee camp, living under bombing starving, suffering, or even dead. But instead, I was given the opportunity to be here. I'm a Syrian asylee. I come from a region ravaged by injustice, oppression, dictatorship, poverty, and lack of education. I'm passionate about speaking up for the people of these regions, the oppressed, the wronged, the poor, the minorities. I was gifted this opportunity, this light of hope, and I will never allow that light to dim. I won't allow the censorship of the truth, and you mustn't either. Veritas, which means truth, is our mission here at Harvard. And our truth is appropriate. However, it is important that we not only project our own narratives, but the narratives of people like my father, oppressed, wronged, hurt. It is our duty to listen closely to the voices that have been silenced, to share the truth of people who couldn't share their own. So let's project these silent narratives. Let's amplify the voices and the narratives of these people, starting off with our brothers and sisters in Syria, Yemen, Sudan, East Turkestan, and now, more than ever, Palestine. Thank you.